and those include, we're creating a chapter hub on Google Drive with documents and things that chapters might need to use throughout the year as tools and as sort of a way to help you guys and guide you throughout the year, so that you always have campaigns and activities that you can participate in, and how exactly to participate in them as a high school or a college chapter. And we also are trying to introduce everyone to Slack, which is basically a communications application on your phone or on your laptop. It's really helpful to kind of join in with the other chapters in the across the United States, and that can help build the community between chapters and also keep you up to date on campaigns, and you can keep us up to date on what you're doing and on your progress and stuff like that. So we can talk about that a little bit later. And then we'll also introduce various campaigns and activities for the year that chapters, both new and old, can participate in, as well as colleges and high schools. And then our lobbying weekend in DC, which is set for November 12th to the 13th. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's a great opportunity for chapters from all across the United States to come to DC and actually get hands-on experience with lobbying and being active in the policy-making process. But yeah, so to start out with recruitment, I think Harleen is going to start us out.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, so we have a few ideas for recruitment and intentions that you can keep your club going and start it off, as some of you are. The first thing, very obviously, you can have a table at a club fair. Like many colleges have like the club fairs, and you can have an engaging and fun table where you can tell people about Stand and have them like sign up and get their email so that you can start like introducing them to what Stand is. Having some like snacks or some goodies there would also like kind of help draw people to your table. You don't only have to do this at club fairs. You can always do tabling at for an event or just educating people about Stand, like throughout the year at like University Center or like at lunch or at a dining hall or something. Another thing to help like retain people in your club, I guess, would be having one-on-ones with new and potential like members. By building these like personal relationships, you can like help people stay invested in the club. Like just ask people why they're interested, go out to coffee with them. This way you can just kind of like build that relationship so they stay there. If you see members who want to be more involved, you can always ask them to be on your leadership team so that they can get that role. Collaboration with other clubs on your campus is also a very great idea to get your name out there. It can be like a human rights club or like a Muslim Students Association, or it can be like a completely unrelated club to your cause, but like having like a joint meeting or a joint event or speaking at another club's event can really help like increase the number of people that will hear your name and know you and get interested in Stand and come to your meetings. Another like way of like getting your name out would just be like word of mouth, which always works. Just having your members and your friends like talk about Stand whenever you can. Ask existing members to bring their friends to meetings, talk about Stand and make announcements at like dining halls or in classes that like international relations classes or political science classes or like world, something that like kind of correlates with Stand. Another way of getting attention would be hosting an event, having a public campaign. You can have like an awareness type of campaign, an advocacy campaign, a fundraising campaign, and like when you do it in like a public space where there's a lot of foot traffic or a lot of people will see you, you can get your name farther and out there in your campuses. Another way of getting your name out there, it would be like having a lot of social media accounts, because social media is the way to go these days. So having like an Instagram or a Snapchat or a Facebook or a Twitter, just having like these accounts where you put what you're doing and like what like things you're kind of targeting on those like social media pages, so people can recognize you. It would be like a great way of getting your name out there. If you like get your friends to follow and have them like ask them get 5 other people to follow, so you can like increase your following, and then always send like those links to one of your like field organizers so that they can upload what you're doing onto like the national level, and everyone can see what amazing work everyone is doing. Another way of having like more name recognition, I guess, would be just like more media, having posters up and flyers up around the school, around the campus, advertising in your school newspaper, doing like a press release about what stand is, what your plans are for the year. It's all a great way to like reach out to people and get people interested. And often we have a lot of advocacy campaigns where like you can also write op-eds for, and that way you can educate people at the same time you're getting like Stan's name out there. Also doing, as I said, like you can talk about Stan at your international relations class, your poli-sci class, and you can also do like little presentations in class by asking the teacher. You can do this at like high school level or college level, and that's also another way of just like getting people interested that might not know your name otherwise. In order to like on another note, like in order to retain the members that you have in your club, you can always a good way to get people more invested in the club is to like delegate tasks, give members like even small tasks just to stay engaged so that they feel like they're contributing something and that they're getting something out of the club. Like just like if you have an event coming up, ask them to make a Facebook event. If you want to table, ask them to table, call Congress members, just anything that like you can delegate, and that way people want to stay in your club. And then like lastly, food will always draw people in. So like having food at your little at your first general interest meeting, just like saying come to like our meeting and we have donuts for you or something, it will like always help people come in, and they might come in wanting to enjoy your treats but stay because they really like the activism and like the message of Stand.
Hey guys, so this is kind of like a general layout for how you can run like your first meeting, a general interest meeting. And so first of all, you need to introduce your club. You need to let people know exactly who you are, which is a Stand chapter. And you introduce your club leadership because those are the people that new people are going to go to. Those are the people that they're going to seek out for getting involved. So you need to make sure that everybody is very aware of exactly who that is and what they do. Then you can do introductions, kind of like what we did here. It's important to build like a sense of community in your chapter, and even like in inter-chapter networks. And so the more you build like through icebreakers and introductions and getting to know each other, the stronger your club will end up. And then we recommend a short PowerPoint on Stand, just so everybody knows exactly what they're getting into. And so a short PowerPoint can consist of the history of Stand. It could be like your personal chapter, like when it was founded, if it's its first year and stuff like that. Or it can be the history of Stand as like a national organization, like its transition from the Save movement into. So like for my local Terre Haute chapter, a really big campaign that we always do is a student rebuild like challenge, and that's kind of like what we're known for. And so it's always good, especially if your like I guess flagship campaign has a lot of name recognition on your campus. It's good to like I guess boast about that. And you can talk about your campaigns for upcoming semesters. And if you don't know what to do for your upcoming semesters, we have some great ideas for you. We have a lot of good campaigns that you guys are going to learn about in a little bit. But it's always good to tell them what they should be looking forward to, so you aren't only like looking in the past, you're also looking in the future. And it's important to talk about, of course, what I was talking about, previous events that you've done on your campus. So if they recognize you, and if they recognize you from around and they saw you being active, then they'll understand like what they're getting into. Then after that, you can take questions, because I'm sure that a lot of people will have questions about exactly what your club is, because it's a lot to handle at first. And then it's always good to end in an action step. And so even if it's something small, like just writing a letter or making a phone call, it's always good to like give people a taste of like the change that they're going to be making, so they aren't just like bogged down by, I guess, like the bureaucratic details and stuff. And so for a general meeting agenda, you can discuss existing events and like logistics. So like the dates, times, and place, like you can talk about what you have planned and what's going to be going on and exactly how they can get it. Make sure you're giving clear example or like clear instructions, and make sure that you've booked everything on time and stuff like that, just so everybody is clear and knows what they're doing, because it'll be the most efficient if everybody is on the same page. You should figure out if there's going to be food, who's going to be ordering it, where's the money is going to be coming from. And that's where you come into like if your school will reimburse that and stuff like that. If you're talking about current events and stuff like that, you need to make sure that you're doing social media promotion, whether it's a Facebook event. You could even like hang up posters around school. I know that that's really popular for high school chapters. And you can send emails to your listservs and just talk to your student body, doing tabling and stuff like that, similar to like recruitment tactics. It's just getting people to know about your event and what you're going to be doing. And anything else that logistics, like if you guys need a bus, if you guys book airline tickets or stuff like that, if you guys are going to the national conference, anything like that, you guys need to make sure that you have everything planned out. And that's always a good thing to do like immediately. So if people have to leave early from your meeting or anything like that, everybody is on the same page. Then after that, you should discuss future ideas for events. That's where you get a lot of input from your club members, see what direction they want to take their chapter in. And the more you discuss and the more you plan, the easier it'll be to figure out the logistics afterwards. Then I think one of the most important parts is an education section, where even if it's just like 10 minutes or something around that, you want to teach your chapter about what they're fighting for, I guess, because a lot of action is always good, but it's more important that people know what they're doing so they can take action more efficiently. And that being said, we have a lot of packets, we have a lot of resources that we can send you guys' way, so you aren't just like doing research in the dark. We can definitely aid in that, so you guys are educating with correct information and stuff like that. And a good idea is to like bring in a news article for everybody to read and discuss and things like that. And then after you guys are educated, it's always good to take action. If your action is connected to your education, that's like bonus points, I guess. But after you guys, like through educating, you can empower your club members further by taking action, and you can build relationships with your local officials and tell them that genocide and atrocity prevention is important. So calling, writing letters, doing social media campaigns, stuff like that, and doing the campaigns that we suggest also. All of those will not only make your chapter more prominent, it'll build better relationships with your community to their representatives, and it'll just spread awareness for Gen Prep. That's genocide prevention, by the way. And if you need any action ideas, you can reach out to either the field organizers. If you're a college one, that's me. If you're a high school chapter, that's Harleen. And we always have plenty of ideas for you guys. So never hesitate to reach out to us. And we'll have our contact information later on. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys have our contact information. So leadership position ideas. So there's always like the general ones. I know that some colleges, at least, I don't know about high schools, but a lot of colleges require like club presidents in order to like, and like VPs and treasurers and secretaries. So it's always important to have those things just to like meet like standards for your college, if those are necessary, or for your high school. But also those also play really important roles in guiding the club. And these are kind of some additional leadership positions, because like Harleen talked about, delegating is really important. And it also gives people a sense of investment in your chapter. And so these are some other ideas of what you can do just in case you have more people and a president, a vice president, a treasurer, and a secretary aren't enough. And so I'm just going to walk you guys through what all of these things mean. So the fundraising coordinator, the one who obviously runs fundraising events and ensures that chapters have like the funds that they need. And so they play a lot into the logistics. They make sure that everything is like possible and it is in the budget. The advocacy coordinator oversees all events and projects that seek to influence elected and public officials. So they're the ones who are writing, they're the ones who are like leading lobbying and protests and social media call-ins and stuff like that. And so they're the ones who are really the ones who will form connections to your representatives. Education coordinators are the ones who focus on the education part of each meeting. They're the ones who will be finding all of the resources that you guys need in order to be a stronger chapter as far as like awareness goes. And they're the ones who will be like educate the chapter on stand conflict areas and emerging atrocities. And they'll also be educating the campus and the community about the issues that we care about. And the media coordinator is the person who focuses on generating media attention. So they're the hype men, they're the buzz people. The media coordinator could be really, really good at like graphics, like and they could be the one in charge of like designing stuff, or they could just be somebody who has a lot of followers on Instagram and they just know how to build a base and stuff like that. Junior leaders and grade level leaders, those are important if you have like a lot of club members, and it really helps diversify your chapter by like adding representatives. And so it gives underclassmen especially a voice, and it gives you a way to reach out to like different friend groups, different like grade levels. And it's a really good way to help make a sustainable chapter, especially after you graduate. It's kind of like a stepping stone to being the president and the vice president and stuff like that. And the last one that we're going to talk about is the STAN National Liaison. And so that's going to be the person who provides event ideas, newsletter, education updates, and everything that the STAN National MC, that's us, everything that we have to offer will go through the STAN National Liaison if you guys have one of those. And they're going to be the ones who build really close connections with us and who hopefully make us feel like a part of your team as well.
All right, so Ugo touched on this just a little bit, but to go through kind of the STAN outreach team and who you'll probably be in most contact with throughout the course of the year. He talked about the field organizer position, and we have two field organizers, Harleen and Ugo. Harleen will specifically focus on high school chapters. So if you're a high school chapter, this is who you should contact with any of your questions, any of your updates. If you want to tell her about a campaign that you did that was successful, you want to send her some pictures, or you have a question on how to start a campaign, you reach out to her. She's your go-to member of the MC. And then for college chapters, Ugo is your go-to guy, and that's his email address right there. And same thing there, any questions, any updates, anything like that, be sure to email him. And then I'm the National Outreach Coordinator, and I'll specifically focus on new chapters. So for those of you who are looking to start new chapters, I know there were a few of you at the beginning when you introduced yourselves. Make sure to get in contact with me, and I can be there with you every step of the way until you create your chapter and get started and get comfortable with participating in campaigns and such. And then the advocacy coordinator, who is the head of the state advocacy leads. I know there are some of you on the call right now who are state advocacy leads and have probably been in touch with Amala before, but she's your contact for any advocacy questions or things that you have to do as a state advocacy lead. She's your go-to gal. And if there are any people here who aren't in a STAN chapter, or who are individuals who are interested in getting involved, or I mean, yeah, that's it. You might want to get in touch with her to find out how you can participate more or get involved more if you're not interested in particularly creating a chapter, because you don't have to create a chapter to be active. You can be something like a state advocacy lead and participate in advocacy for your state and your district and such like that. So yeah, and then without further ado, we'll start discussing the campaigns, and I think this is one of the most, this is the most exciting part of the presentation, because this is exactly basically what you guys can do as chapters and as individuals things that you can participate in, and hopefully you'll find them really interesting, and different ways that you can get engaged. And yeah, so I think Harleen's going to take it off with Rise for Rohingya. You're on mute, Harleen. You're muted.
Well, okay. We can figure out technology. Okay, so to describe a little bit of the background of Rohingya, while like some of you might know about them and some of you might not have any background, so just like a short like little summary. They're a Muslim minority in Burma, and they're like a stateless people, and the Burmese people do not give them citizenship, and they say that they're Bangladeshi, while Bangladesh does not accept them either. So they're basically a persecuted people living in camps in like the northern Rakhine state, and they're fighting for their like identity and their basic human rights to be free. And so basically what we're doing is we're fundraising for little projects on the ground to help this group of people. We are partnering with the Nexus Fund in order to like fundraise these micro grants. And these will like assist on the ground peace building projects in Burma. And one particular one that some of you might have heard of that we're fundraising for is like a youth peace building like boot camp per se, where like students, like youth people like us, will learn about peace building in their own communities and then implement these projects, and they'll work toward peace, which like kind of in a way we can relate to, not in terms of like peace building, but like we are also students working toward a goal. So and some of you all, as I said, might remember this campaign from last year, and we're just continuing it, and we're hope to continuing this like fundraising push. So one of like the ways that we have fundraised in the past, could you go to the next slide, Hannah? One of the ways we have fundraised in the past is a film called Behind the Fence. Some of you might have seen it. It's a virtual reality film. It's like a short 10-minute documentary that shows like the insides of the camps in which the Rohingya reside, and like kind of like the atmosphere in Burma regarding this Muslim minority group. And we have like Google Cardboards for students on your campuses or your high schools to use to show these films to your community and your school. And it could be a very like great fundraising campaign that like you could base on donation or fees to view this film. So we have some of like the fundraising incentives for this particular campaign listed. You can do this as an individual or as a chapter, so you can come at it from both directions. So as you can see, like you can kind of see the milestones like listed, but I can go through them for you. If you're a chapter or you're as an individual, you raise $100, you get like a personal photo and a note from like the team in Burma that is with the Nexus Fund. If you raise $250, you get a bracelet from the area in Burma listed. $500 if you raise, you can get a Skype call that will allow your club or you to talk to people on the ground in Burma, so you can get more personal like talk and like issue related things. You can ask the questions that you want to ask. For $1,000, you get a hand-woven bag from Burma, and then $20,000, which is a large goal but not impossible, you can get a trip to Burma. And one other incentive that we do have, this film has been nominated for the Emmys, and we would love for someone to be able to attend them with the Nexus Fund's director. So for the month of September, we're basically doing like a competition where the highest fundraiser will win a trip to the Emmys, but you must raise like at least 1,000. So like you have to hit the milestone of 1,000, and then like after that, whoever raises the most will go to the Emmys with the Nexus Fund's director. And so we have some like ideas for how you can fundraise. So first and foremost, you'd have to register yourself or your team on the CrowdRise page, which we can send the link to you guys through our chapter hub. But to get involved, you can register yourself, and then after that, you can do like a film festival where you can show the VR film or the virtual reality film and charge a fee or ask for donations. Either way, you can do like small bake sales, which I know like work really well in like high schools. Like a donation box around the school or around your workplace or your place of faith. You can have a benefit concert, which is there's also some stuff in the toolkit about that, where you can charge a fee for people to go in, or you can have like a donation box. Either way, you can also ask local businesses for a donation, because they're often like very willing to engage in like philanthropic causes. And then, as I've been mentioning, we do have a toolkit that you can use to plan and coordinate your campaign. It's located in the chapter hub. We can send you a link to that. And if you have any further questions about any way you can fundraise, anything about like educational items that you want, you can always contact your field organizer, as Ugo was saying, if you're a high school chapter, me, and if you're a college chapter, Ugo. It is it.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys about the Elie Wiesel Genocide and Atrocity Prevention Act. And so the Genocide and Atrocity and what we can do about it. The Genocide and Atrocity Prevention Act is a bill designed to strengthen the ability of the U.S. to prevent and respond to genocide and mass atrocities worldwide. And so essentially this legislation institutionalizes, authorizes, and requires. And so it institutionalizes the Mass Atrocities Task Force, which brings together every part of the U.S. government, every U.S. government agency, to coordinate a government approach, like a full, holistic government approach to genocide prevention. And so it brings together a bunch of different members of a bunch of different parts of government, and they can use, and so it provides a lot of perspectives. And authorizes the Complex Crises Fund, which provides flexible funding to prevent and respond to unforeseen crimes that may escalate to genocide and or mass atrocities. And so the Complex Crises Fund already exists, but it's being threatened, especially in the new budget. And so it's really important to preserve it, because it's been really effective in the past by providing like small amounts of like money that changes a lot. And finally, it requires early warning training for foreign service officers. And so that basically ensures that the U.S. government is alerted, like that foreign service officers are able to alert the U.S. government as early as possible when there's a threat of genocide and other atrocities. And so essentially this bill and this act will make stopping genocide a priority and a lot more feasible than it is at the current moment in the United States. And so our campaign response in order to promote GAPA, the Elie Wiesel GAPA Act, is called Pledge GAPA GAPA, and it's kind of a little targeted towards more so a college chapter. However, high school chapters are definitely welcome to get involved as well. And so the goal of it is to pass the act in the House and the Senate. And so and so one of them is a photo campaign, and it allows students to like pledge GAPA GAPA, so to speak, with like fraternity or sorority paddles. Or you can hashtag photos that say that you hashtag pledge GAPA GAPA. And another way is the Facebook overlay that we're going to be releasing. And it basically just says, I pledge GAPA GAPA. So that's after you do the photo campaign. Then you get access to the Facebook overlay, which also promotes it. And so, like I said, this is mainly targeted towards college chapters. And it is obviously a pun on like sorority and fraternity kind of pledging culture, and because of that it's really easy to reach out to fraternities and sororities, because most of them are service oriented and service focused, and especially there's a lot of like political science sororities and fraternities and other like career oriented ones, and especially if they're in like social justice kind of aspects and like career paths, then they would definitely be at least open to listening to this. And fraternities and sororities have a lot of manpower or woman power, and they have a lot of faces and a lot of votes and a lot of opinions. And so if you can get a full house of people to, participate in the campaign, it'll be a really, really easy way like photo out. And so another big aspect of this is Rush Kappa Kappa Week. And so it's like a play on Rush Week. And so it is 5 days of nonstop action opportunities for people who pledge Kappa Kappa. And so this is especially vital when we have a way to push, like when we need an extra push to like motivate senators and representatives. And so day one would be a letter writing campaign. And so everybody would write their, like, I guess you would write ahead of time and then everybody would send it in on the same day. So I guess all of Congress would get like a huge flood of letters in. The next day would be publishing op-eds. So we would have, or you guys would write op-eds and then all of them across different newspapers and across different like campus like websites and stuff. There would be a huge like day of awareness where everybody is talking about Kappa Kappa and why you should pledge it. Then there's another photo taking day. And so that's when you redo your photo campaign. And there's day 4 would be a call-in day when everybody can call in, text in, tweet in, whatever you want to do. Or all of them, hopefully all of them, your representatives in order to make them aware that this is important to you. And the final day is a visibility day when you post online. You can post the letter you wrote, you can post your op-ed, you can post pictures that you took, you can tweet, you can do whatever you want. Just make sure that like, I guess Twitter blows up and Facebook blows up and everything is obsessed with Kappa on that day. And you can also talk about the significance of Elie Wiesel and why he's so important and why he is, I guess, that the namesake for this bill, because he was he's always been outspoken, both as a Holocaust survivor and as an activist to prevent genocide and atrocities. And so this bill is named after him because of that. And you can also raise awareness for other genocide and mass atrocity events that are important to you and that you care about. So it's not only about Kappa that day, it's about everything that we're fighting for that is seeking to be prevented in Kappa.
And like Ugo mentioned at the beginning, kind of this is a national campaign. So Stand National will choose a week. It'll probably be sometime in October, so keep a lookout for that, where we'll do the Rush Week for Kappa, and high schools and colleges can participate, although it is like a sorority culture, which is what you find more in colleges. High schools can also participate each day of that week in doing those activities and participating in the campaign just like college students.
I think Savannah can't view
I think it's
PowerPoint, but Savannah, we're on the Together We Remember aspect.
I can't see the PowerPoint, but I can chat about it. Can you hear me?
Yes. Maybe not.
Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, wait, okay, I'm chatting and you let me know if it chops out. So Together We Remember is a campaign that you're probably familiar with from last year if you were in a STAND chapter that participated in national campaigns. So it's one that we won't participate in until April, but it's good to know about early and start planning for. It's a campaign, essentially, that's a 24-hour name reading. The focus is really commemorating victims of past genocides in a way that allows us to draw attention and to prevent, ongoing and future genocide. So we have a database of names of victims from, you name it, a lot of the larger recognized and documented genocides that have happened that clearly are distinct but have, common threads of this, tragic violence against a specific identity group. So we've got these names in a database, and what we do is have students read them in 10-minute slots in a public place so that people walking by, are kind of interested in seeing, what's going on, why are they reading names. And then every year we combine this name reading, which is, more of a public demonstration or commemoration, with some sort of action item. So this is something that we've done now for 2 years. We keep expanding the number of campuses that we're doing it on and improving our technique. So the vision is really, calling attention to the fact that there are so many genocides that have happened throughout history, and looping it to the fact that there are ongoing conflicts that have comparable, storylines, and that there are victims, of crisis right now. And so really kind of saying we respect the past while using, our voices and our action to prevent this from happening to other people in the future. So that's just something we don't have all the materials right now, but if your chapter or campus is really interested in hosting, just get in touch with your field organizer, because we'll start doing the details of that, getting a location, figuring out all the logistics, as soon as possible. So that's another option, and is an option that we'll always have available to chapters. That's something that can be pretty powerful, that we'll have, a national advocacy ask attached to come April. Did you guys catch that?
Yes, you're good. Hannah, you can hit the next slide.
So the next campaign that we wanted to talk about was Lemonade Stand for Yemenade. So there's a lot of puns there, but the goal here is to raise awareness and take action to end the violence in Yemen. So the civil war that's happening right now in Yemen is really complicated, and there are a lot of different actors that are involved. But something that's really important to know is that Saudi Arabia is involved, and they've intervened. They're leading a coalition on behalf of the Yemeni government. And the problem with this is that they've been targeting civilians. So they've specifically been going to areas where there are a lot of civilians and bombing them and causing civilian casualties. And when they do this, they're using weapons that are provided to them by the US. So through US arms deals with Saudi Arabia. And that's where we, as activists based in the US, can have a lot of leverage, because we can pressure the US to stop these arms deals and stop selling weapons to Saudi Arabia. There's a couple of pieces of specific legislation that we're hoping to do an advocacy push for. So there's something called the National Defense Authorization Act, which is passed, which comes up every year, and it basically sets out the budget and the guidelines for the military for the next year. And it already passed in the House of Representatives with 3 amendments that are related to Yemen. But so now it's coming up for vote in the Senate. And there are 2 amendments that have been proposed in the Senate that would require the US to impose conditions on Saudi Arabia based on civilian killings and based on their human rights records before we actually sell them any weapons that they can then use in Yemen. And so at Stand, we really support this. We think it's very important to not sell Saudi Arabia weapons if they're using them to target civilians in Yemen, and if they're using them to abuse people and violate their human rights. So in order to pressure our representatives and make sure that these amendments, which are really important, actually pass, we've designed a campaign where people will host a Yemenade stand. So the goal of this is to raise awareness, and the way it would work is you would have a lemonade stand, but instead of paying for money, in order to get lemonade, people would call their representatives right there, so they're actually doing it. You would probably have scripts that they can use, which we would provide, and they would call their representatives and talk to them about the conflict in Yemen and encourage them to vote for these amendments that we strongly support. If someone didn't want to call the representatives, we would also create an alternative of paying for the lemonade as if it were an actual lemonade stand, and you, as your chapter, would just be able to then donate that money towards Stand, so it would still go towards raising awareness and supporting our advocacy efforts. We would also provide educational resources and action guides, so that even if someone doesn't end up buying lemonade or doesn't want to call the representatives right there or even donate money, you're still giving them a way to get involved, and we can still spread the message and make sure that people are actually pushing for this important legislation on Yemen.
Here, and I can talk about this one. So we're really excited to announce that we will be hosting a lobbying weekend in DC in November. So we're working on finalizing all of the logistical details, but we wanted to let you all know as soon as possible so that you could let your chapters know, start fundraising if you need to book your travel and housing in DC. And kind of work if in case you need to work with a school administration in order to approve your trip. But we will be hosting on November 12th a full day series of sessions on Stan's conflict areas, educational sessions, and then a how to lobby workshop as well in order to prepare you for lobbying on Monday, November 13th. And so this will be in Washington, D.C., and we will be releasing information on the website soon, and we will keep you posted via the Chapter Hub and also via chapter newsletters that Harleen and Ugo and Farida will be sending you. This is just some pics of our students making change. And lobbying on the Hill. And now we want to open it up to any questions or discussions that you guys want to have, and I'll pass it back to Farida to facilitate that.
Does anyone have any questions?
Or are you particularly excited about any of these opportunities?
My only question is for the people who are on their cell phones, will you be able to email us a link for the PowerPoint that you guys have been reading about? Because there are 2 different campaigns that you mentioned that I want to speak to our vice president and treasurer about, because I think that they would be really good opportunities for us to pursue at Stockton. We have a large fraternity and sorority chapters, and I think that a collaboration would be a good thing. And so I really want to present that to them, but I was only able to write down so much information, and I'd really like to have some paperwork to take with me to our next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to post the recording of this session online, and we also have the PowerPoint itself physically in the chapter hub that we discussed that we will also share with everyone.
Okay,
so
great.
You should, yeah, sometime soon you should be able to access everything.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question concerning like what should be like the first step that I start with, like, to get that going? I've already contacted like faculty advisors and things, but where should I go like after that?
So it depends on the regulations of your school. When I was starting my new chapter at the University of Maryland, they had to have at least 8 members registered with my organization before it became officially recognized as an organization. So having a faculty member being your sponsor is good. That's always the first step. And then second, if your school is anything like mine, you might want to get some of your friends or talk to people in your political science classes or programs if they might be interested in starting this with you. If that's not a regulation that you have to do, then you'd have to go through, I think, your student organization center on campus or the SGA on campus, depending on who specifically at your university handles that. But that's something you and I can work on together. I can help you find that information and exactly what you need to do for your university, because universities do things differently depending on the systems and how they run. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so if there are no more questions, we'd like to thank you all for attending. And yeah, that's it for our webinar. Please feel free to email any of us with questions. You can find our information in this PowerPoint once it goes up, or even on the website. Our information's already up. And please keep in touch, especially all our chapters. And if you're just an individual interested in what SAN does and getting involved in helping this out, please get in touch and let us know how you're willing to participate and things like that, and we'll give you ideas for how you can stay active. But I think that's all we have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, everyone have a good rest of your evenings.
Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Have a good night.